Welcome to this week's episode of the VYPE podcast. I am Will Turboff, always joined by Tinley Kane, not always joined by Tommy Yarrish, filling in for Robert Gonsolin today. Tommy, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. Appreciate you having me out.
Yeah, of course. You've been covering a lot of games recently, and with that, I think we should go ahead and get started. Talk about 6A D1. 4 teams left for historic, huge programs. Tommy, you've covered North Shore. North Shore had another huge week, 56-14 over Ridge Point. Talk about that game a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this North Shore team is not messing around this year, looking for that third straight title. It's just pure domination coming out from Galena Park right now, and it's really led by Auburn signee Demetrius Davis. He is doing everything for them right now. Last week, he passed up Kyler Murray in total passing yards in his career, which is just incredible to think of considering everything that Kyler has done for Texas high school football in his career. So Demetrius deserves a lot more credit than he receives. Another guy that deserves a lot more credit is Shadrack Banks, the wide receiver. I mean, he's a linebacker, wide receiver, and a running back all in one. And you can't really ask for much more in an offensive player like Shadrack, and he's been doing a lot for them as well. And then defensively, the North Shore secondary is just too much to handle. Guys like Denver Harris are just unsurpassable, and you saw that last week against Ridge Point. They weren't able to establish too much through the air. So I'm excited to see how they do next week against Westlake because, obviously guys like Cade Klubnik on the other side of the ball can really sling it. So I'm looking forward to that matchup.
Yeah, I'm calling this North Shore Westlake game. That is going to be maybe the game, definitely the game of the year, but one of the greatest matchups that we'll be able to see. I think those are the two best teams in the state. We got the chance to talk to Cade a few weeks ago. We'll be able to hear that later on in the show, actually. He's great. They've got some great guys on defense. Michael Taff, who we talked to a couple of months ago, and on offense, Jaden Greathouse, Zane Miners. This team is stacked, and when you talk about that Austin region they don't have a lot of big programs. Lake Travis is a team that they always play and is their big rival. They didn't even play them this year. They kind of had a breeze through the regular season, and it's continuing that way. They beat Cibolo Steel 34-0 last week. When we talked to Cade, I think, what was the number, Tinley? Were they averaging 63 points per game in the playoff? And
that's unheard of, I feel like.
It's insane. Tommy, you said you saw this team last year?
Yeah, they actually came down here to play Sour Ranch, so I watched that game. It was just ugly. I mean, this Westlake team is stacked from top to bottom, and I was really impressed with Cade's play. I mean, you can't really ask for much more as a quarterback. I don't remember his tangibles exactly, but I think he's like 6'5", and he can, like I said earlier, he can really throw it. So having a guy like that at quarterback, you can't really get much better than that. And he's one of the better quarterbacks in an already loaded 2022 class. Guys like Connor Wigman and Quinn Ewers are playing alongside him, competing for all these offers, and he's really been showing out.
Yeah, I'm glad that you talked about Quinn Ewers because I talked to him a few days ago. They beat Trinity 59-35. He is insane. I was telling Tinley that he looks even better in person. The guy does not miss a pass. He had an interception, and that was a bad play. I think he was blinded by the sun or something. But he had one incompletion in the first half and maybe 3 or 4 in the second half. It's just, this guy could go start for some NFL teams. I'm not even kidding. He's amazing, and I would urge everyone to go watch him this weekend against Duncanville, and maybe they'll pull off the surprise, and maybe we'll see him at AT&T Stadium next weekend. Tommy, what do you think? Who are you picking in that South Lake Carroll Duncanville matchup?
Well, I mean, going off of your point about Quinn, look at his stat line from last week. It's just you don't hear about this from a junior high school player. 35 of 39 for 450 yards and 6 touchdowns. Like, you just don't hear about that. And Trinity has been on a run. Obviously, they got the run game going for them offensively, and they've kept it close. But nonetheless, this is round 4, 6A Texas high school football playoffs. So when you're deep in these games, none of them are going to be easy. So having a performance like that deep is unheard of. However, this Duncanville defense, as we saw last week against DeSoto, is not one to play around with. If I'm not mistaken, almost, I would say 9 out of 11, maybe 10 out of 11 players on the Duncanville defense are Division I football players. Guys like Kendrick Blackshear, who literally looks like a monster made by God himself, is just he can do everything at linebacker. And then Jordan Crook on the other side of the field. When those guys are covering everything, and then Amari Abor on the defensive line, it's a threat, and it's really going to put a test on Ewers, and I'm very excited to see how he does.
Yeah, I think there are 2, maybe 3 programs like Duncanville where they just walk in and you're like, there's no way these guys are in high school. I watched them against DeSoto, and really, it's like all of these guys are huge, and they play a really good game of football. They gave up quite a few points, though. There were so many unsportsmanlike conducts. This team has a lot of guys that really get into the game, and hopefully that doesn't hurt them, because that Carroll team is very calm, very reserved, and it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And going off of what you said, that Duncanville team had this game against DeSoto on their calendars with a big red X because they weren't able to play earlier on in the season in their district matchup. And there was a lot of back and forth between these two teams. So you may not see as much unsportsmanlike calls this week against Southlake, just because, like you said, they're a very calm and relaxed team. But nonetheless, Duncanville is going to come ready to play. And if I had to pick a team, I'm going to put my money on Duncanville.
Well, we're down to 4 in 6AD1. Southlake Carroll, Duncanville playing in Globe Life Park, North Shore and Westlake playing down there at Legacy Stadium in Katy. So you're taking Duncanville and North Shore once again in the 6AD1 championship, Tommy?
Absolutely. I'm thinking we're going to get part 3. I have my money on North Shore against Westlake. Not to diss Westlake as a team, because obviously they're very good. But I've learned in my 3 years of working in this industry to never bet against Demetrius Davis, Shadrach Banks, and John Kay over at North Shore. Those 3 are just magicians and are incredible at what they do. So I have to rock with my guys over in Galena Park.
Yeah, you picked North Shore and Duncanville. The other 2 teams, Southlake Carroll and Westlake, I've pointed this out before, but how cool would it be for Todd Dodge to coach against his son, Riley Dodge, who is now the coach of Southlake Carroll. But we found out today Riley Dodge has COVID, and he will not be coaching this weekend, which could put Carroll at a huge disadvantage. So we'll see how that turns out. And we are here with Westlake quarterback, junior class of 2022, Cade Klubnik. Cade, how's it going?
It's going good. How about you?
Going great, man. I saw you last week. We talked. You had a huge win. Your team put up over 70 points. Let's talk about that game for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we had a good team win. Offense was just kind of rolling from the start. We had a really good week of practice, which was kind of, led into a good game, and we just never really skipped a beat when it came to offense. We just kind of did our job and took care of itself. So,
yeah, man. You guys were pretty unstoppable from the start there. They took you out in the third quarter, but you still put up some pretty crazy stats. I'm looking here right now, 364 yards and 4 touchdowns, and that was in 2.5 quarters of work?
I think so, yes, sir.
Well, I've been noticing through your last 3 playoff games, y'all are averaging 63.3 points per game. What have you been doing to lead keep your whole team together and keep everyone on the same page throughout this playoff run?
Yeah, I mean, we just treat every week the same. We don't, we never question, how good is this team? How good is that team? We just play every week the same, prepare every week the same, play our best. No matter if we're playing a 1-9 team or a 11-0 team, we're still going to go play the exact same way and play like us. And when we do that, we take care of our business. So yeah, it's been going good. I mean, we just take it day by day, week by week, and yeah.
Yeah, I remember you saying on Saturday that you're just taking it week by week. You're playing Steel this week, and I'm sure you're not even thinking about it. I don't know if you've seen the bracket, but it looks like you'll play North Shore next week. Has Coach even talked about that game yet?
No, I mean, we're never going to get to that game if we don't take care of this one. So we never even worry about the next week. We don't even really look at the bracket. We figure out who we're playing this week. We beat them, and then we go on to the next one. That's the plan. So, if you just look forward, you're never going to be able to take care of what's going on right now. And that's kind of been our mentality every week is, like, you're never going to get to where you want to be, like, if you don't take care of what's right in front of you right now. Because that team right there might be thinking that this team that we're about to play, Westlake, is just going to be looking forward to state, and then we can go take advantage of them. But we got look at what's right in front of us and take care of it. So.
Well, Cade, I kind of have to ask you a question on the side about your defense. This whole season, they've given up only 51 points. Many teams in the state of Texas give up more than that in one single game. Kind of what has been the communication between the offense and the defense to make sure that y'all are both, still like complete domination on each side and like how has the defense also led to y'all's success?
Yeah, I mean, defense is just insane. I mean, they're a bunch of freaks. I mean, they're just so good. They know every play. They know every play the offense is going to do before you snap the ball. They're just very good at what they do, and they make offense's job a lot easier with great field position and just being able to give us more opportunities to score and just always taking their business. And, it takes a lot of stress off our hands. So they're really good at what they do, and they're going to keep doing it no matter who steps in front of them. So.
Yeah, they were really great last week. And last year, you watched this team win a championship and at AT&T Stadium. Do you think that's helped you at all kind of in this playoff run with a lot of guys that have been this deep in the playoffs before?
Definitely. I mean, we got a ton of veteran guys that, have been in this atmosphere, know what it's like, and can definitely encourage the guys below us and the new guys. And, that definitely gives us a huge advantage just, when it comes to teams that haven't made it this far before. And, just knowing what the atmosphere is like and what's really on the line, and definitely helps us out a lot in terms of leadership and guys showing the way. So.
And then before we let you go, you're getting offers left and right recently. You're a 4-star. You're one of the best quarterbacks in the class of 2022. I know just after I interviewed you last week, you found out that you got an offer from Florida State. But one of the biggest offers that you have is from UT, and UT looks like they're finishing up with their last quarter with their quarterback from Westlake. Have you talked to Sam at all in the past few weeks?
I have. Yep. I mean, just my older brother's really good friends with him. They both played at Westlake. My brother played receiver here, so we're pretty close. And I mean, he was pretty happy about the offer, and was pretty happy for me. But I mean, he's obviously he goes to UT, but he was pretty happy. So.
What have you learned from Sam, knowing that y'all have that Westlake connection? And have y'all gotten to throw any balls together, just hit the field every once in a while?
We haven't in a while just because of, COVID and then also just being in season and everything. But, I mean, we haven't been able to throw in a while. But we have before. And,
Yeah, well, man, you look great. Westlake has such a rich tradition of great quarterbacks. You talk about, Breeze and Foles and Ellinger and now you. It seems like you're going to be on that list pretty soon. So we're really looking forward to see what you do in the rest of this year, and we know you'll have a great year next year. So good luck.
Well, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, well, we're ready to talk about 6AD2. 4 schools left there: Geyer, Cedar Hill, Katy, and Haynes. Tommy, you've seen this Katy team. What do you think about them?
Well, the thing that I like the most about this Katy team is their defense. And I think that that's something that they've been commended for years on end now. But especially this year, they've really showed out to me. Guys like Bobby Taylor and Hunter Washington on the defensive end have been absolutely lethal this year for the secondary for Katy. And Malik Sula, the 5-star defensive end, is one of the best football players that I have ever seen play. Now, unfortunately, Malik is out for the year with a torn ACL. But I still think that he has led this defensive line so well as just a junior in high school that this defense is going to be just fine. So I think Katy has no problem up against Hayes. Offensively, the Davis brothers, Jalen and Seth, have been running over defenses pretty easily. And if they need to, quarterback Caleb Koger can launch it downfield if he needs to. They have a couple of wide receivers down there, guys like Nick Anderson. He's a big wide receiver who has great hands and a great vertical leap. So when they need him, he can play. But for right now, it's the Davis show in the backfield.
Yeah, we know about this region that Katy's coming out of the most. You know, it's the Houston teams. Katy played Lamar, they played Shadow Creek, and now they beat Clear Falls. But let's just give it up to Clear Falls that they made it all the way here. Robert and I were a few days before the Strake Jesuit Clear Falls game. We're saying, man, we got an easy one here. District 24 is not that great, so we'll win this game. And not only do they beat Strake Jesuit, they go out and they beat Westbrook and then Katy Taylor. So it's, I mean, this is, even though they're not going to end up in the championship, it's a great, Cinderella story for a team that no one has ever thought of as a premier program. They've only made the playoffs a couple times in their existence.
Absolutely. I think this is actually the first time that the Clear Falls program was in the playoffs. And to be able to make a run like that, I mean, Straight Jesuit and Westbrook and Katy Taylor as well are formidable opponents. But Katy is just an entire different level. Katy's been a powerhouse across the nation for years on end now. However, if I'm a Clearbrook fan, Clear Falls fan, I have nothing to lay my head down about. A round 4 finish in 6A Division II is pretty tough to accomplish. So, like I said, for the Knights, there's nothing to hang their heads about. And obviously work to improve next year. They have some talent down there that can really take them even further if they continue to work and continue to play at the same level.
Yeah, Katy is going to go on to play Hayes out of Region 4, which is kind of like that Austin and San Antonio region. It's the same in D1. Do you know anything about Hayes?
I haven't been able to do too much research, but I do know that they run a T-style offense. I like to throw the screen pass a lot. So I'm interested to see how that goes up against this Katy defense, just because they haven't been able to face that a lot. When they play teams like Shadow Creek, we know about those deep threat wide receivers like C.J. Guidry and obviously Baylor signee quarterback Kyron Drones has been able to hit those passes all year. He likes to run a little bit too. So a completely new style of offense that the Katy defense is going to have to learn about here this week. So it'll be interesting to see how they adapt to that.
Yeah, and before we finish on 6AD2, we got to get to Region 1 and 2. Geyer and Prosper go to a multi-overtime game. Geyer, who was in the championship last year and lost to Westlake, they got shut out. They're just one win away from going to another one, so I don't know. Has this team made any improvements?
Well, here's the thing about this Denton Geyer squad. I'm a little questionable about them just because they've had so many overtime victories here. So they needed to draw it out late in the game. I don't know if they'll be able to handle an offense quite like Cedar Hills. Guys like Caden Salter over for the Longhorns at Cedar Hill. He's going to have an incredible senior season. He really should have against this Rockwall Heath team. Could have used a little bit more help from those receivers. He had a couple beautiful passes into the end zone at the end of that game that would have won it for him, but he had to do it in overtime nonetheless. And Cedar Hills impressed me a lot. 4-star defensive back Jalen Peoples for them, as well as a big part of that defense, and they're just an overall athletic team. Now, nonetheless, Denton Geyer has a pretty solid squad as well. The Texas A&M signee Eli Stoller is at quarterback for them. He's had an impressive season, but the biggest part for Geyer is that quarterback Deuce Harmon, a Texas A&M signee, is out for the rest of the season. And that's a big, crucial part of that defense, as he has just been absolutely incredible his entire high school career. So having that void in the secondary is going to be a problem against teams like Cedar Hill. And if the wide receivers can step it up for Salter, they should win that game fairly easily.
Yeah, that Cedar Hill Rockwell Heath game was something else. It was kind of quiet in the first half, and then all of a sudden, both the teams were like, "Man, let's pick up the pace." There was a fumble within the last 2 minutes. Cedar Hill was about to win the game in regulation. They fumbled it. They ended up giving the ball over, and then they tied it up. The game was tied. They almost got the touchdown, and then, like you're saying, Salter threw a few Hail Mary passes, just couldn't get one. Two of them were in the. Before we finish off today, we would be remiss not to talk about 5A. There's still a lot of great teams, both in 5A D1 and 5A D2. I saw some great games over the weekend. The Highland Park getting out this soon and the regional final, that's a big deal, right, Tommy?
Absolutely, but if you take a look at their opponent, you can see why. Denton Ryan is just stacked head to toe with incredible athletes. Guys like Texas signee Jatavion Sanders and Oklahoma signee Billy Bowman are just incredible at what they do. And I have no doubt in my mind this Denton Ryan team is going to go all the way and win the state championship, simply because of the fact that you don't hold a team like Highland Park to 7 points in a round 4 playoff game. That is unheard of from the Scots. So an impressive performance by Ben Ryan, even though the scoreboard may not look like it.
Yeah, that game was really a slugfest. Schrager, the Highland Park quarterback, he just couldn't get anything off. That Ryan defense is amazing, and as you were talking about Jatavion Sanders, I was right there at the end zone for that catch, and this guy is just huge. He looks like a pass rusher. It's insane. I can't wait to see what they're gonna do in the new regime in Austin. But yeah, I'm with you. Ryan is, now that they've taken care of Highland Park, and now that Manville is out of the picture, which is Manville is already out. Highland Park and Manville were the two biggest names in 5A D1. They're both out now, so I'm with you. Ryan is actually going to get to play at AT&T Stadium this weekend, so looks like it's going to be 2 weekends in a row and 2 wins. And we'll finish off the day by talking about 5A D2, 4 teams left, just like we have with the other 3 brackets. Are there any of these teams that stand out to you, Tommy?
Well, one team that I've always liked in 5A is the Alto Bearcats, and I'm just very impressed with their athleticism and their speed that they bring to the table. And my favorite player on that team by far is Alabama signee JoJo Earl. He reminds me a lot of Jalen Waddle, one of my favorite college football players, just because his speed is unstoppable, and I think that was a big thing that Nick Saban pushed for in his recruitment, and he was able to flip him on signing day from LSU to Bama, just because he fits so well in that Tide offense that he can really have an impact as soon as he gets there, and he's already having an impact for his Alito team. When they need him most, he can take the ball and take it to the house pretty fast. And I mean, if you're a defensive back, studying him is going to be tough, but guarding him is going to be even tougher.
Yeah, I kind of doubt that Nick Saban will do this, but in the game last week, Alito ran JoJo in the Wildcat. In the Wildcat. They put up 52 points. There were 100 points scored in that game. DeMarco Roberts is another guy on that Alito team that I really like. He's super fast. He's got a lot of energy. He's a much lesser recruit though, but I think this team has what it takes to not only beat Ryder this week, but I think with Fort Bend Marshall out of the picture, even though Crosby has become another one of these Cinderella stories, I think Alito probably has it all in 5AD2.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there. I'm gonna put my money on the Bearcats to win it all.
All right. Well, we thank you for joining us this week, Tommy. When we have our next episode, there will be 2 teams left in all of these brackets. Looks like it's going to be North Shore and Duncanville, but you never know for 6A.